There are war heroes whose names thunder through the decades, etched in the granite of national monuments and on the pages of school textbooks. Their faces gaze from black and white photographs, their stories a part of our collective memory. And then there are heroes whose exploits are so incredible they sound like fiction, a Hollywood script written in a fever dream. Their stories do not fit within the bounds of the ordinary. They shatter our understanding of the limits of human capability. Léo Major of Montreal belonged to the latter category. His name means almost nothing to most Canadians. In his homeland, he is a ghost, a footnote in the margins of history. But thousands of miles away, in the small Dutch city of Zwolle, his name is spoken with reverence. There, he is not a ghost, but a savior. There, he is remembered not as a soldier, but as a liberator. The streets of Zwolle remember his pain, the pain of a young man in an army uniform who lost his only friend, and, in a sacred rage, decided that a single man could stop an entire army. Under the cold April moon of 1945, a Canadian soldier, blind in his left eye, became a legend forgotten by his own country, but one that a foreign land will never forget. For 30 years after the war, Léo lived modestly in Montreal, working as a pipe fitter, and no one around him, not his neighbors, not his colleagues, knew of his exploits. His own son was the first to learn of it, and only thanks to an official visit from a Dutch diplomat who one day appeared at their doorstep. In a 1995 interview, an elderly Léo would say with a smirk, "No one will believe me. I was crazy, so it all worked out well." This is the story of a man who was too great for fame and too humble for legend. A character capable of single-handedly challenging an army is not born on the battlefield. It is forged in the crucible of life's trials long before the first shot is fired. Léo Major was born on January 23, 1921, in New Bedford, Massachusetts, to French-Canadian parents. His father, Achille Major, was a stern and demanding man. Less than a year later, the family returned to Montreal in search of a better life, but the Great Depression was already casting its shadow over the world. Léo's childhood was spent in the working-class neighborhoods of Montreal, where the cold of the Depression was felt as sharply as the icy January wind from the St. Lawrence River. His father, a man of iron will, demanded only one thing from his son: to be strong. Léo learned to fight early, for a place at the dinner table, for the respect of his peers on the dusty streets, for the right to prove to his father that he was not a nobody. His relationship with his father was strained, full of unspoken reproaches and high expectations. At the age of 14, in 1935, young Léo left home and went to live with his aunt. This moment became a turning point. Later, after the war, Léo would admit, "I wanted to show my father that I was someone he could be proud of." This burning desire for recognition, mixed with youthful rebellion, became the driving force of his life. In the late 1930s, he scraped by with odd jobs, worked in construction, and tried to learn the trade of a pipe fitter. But in 1940, with war already raging over Europe, the 19-year-old unemployed Léo Major showed up at the military recruitment office. For many, war was a tragedy. For him, it was a chance to prove his worth. On July 2, 1940, Léo was enlisted in Le Régiment de la Chaudière, an elite French-speaking unit of the Canadian Army known for its fighting spirit. He spent a year in training camps in Canada, then 3 more in England, preparing for the coming invasion of Europe. His natural talents did not go unnoticed. He was a born hunter with nerves of steel and the intuition of a predator. He was assigned to an elite scout and sniper platoon. In the English barracks, Léo was known for his wild energy and complete lack of fear. When asked if he was ready for war, he would smile with one corner of his mouth and reply, "The war will be happy to meet me." June 6, 1944. D-Day. The legend of Léo Major begins on the blood-soaked sands of Juno Beach in Normandy. His regiment lands in the Bernier-sur-Mer sector, and from the very first hours, Major shows what he's made of. First feat. Along with 5 comrades, he crawls up to a German bunker with a machine gun nest that has pinned down an entire company. They place a Bangalore torpedo, a long explosive charge, and blow a hole in the wall. Rushing inside, they capture a dozen stunned German soldiers. Second feat. Later that day, during a reconnaissance patrol, Major single-handedly captures a German half-track armored vehicle, known as the Hanomag. Inside is not only the crew, but also a priceless trophy, German communication equipment, and secret encryption codes. This audacious capture may have provided Allied intelligence with critically important information. Just 2 days after the landing, during a reconnaissance mission near the town of Carpiquet, Léo and 4 of his comrades encounter a patrol from the elite 1st SS Panzer Division, Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler, some of the most fanatical and dangerous soldiers on the Western Front. A short and furious firefight ensues. The Canadians act quickly and cohesively, killing 4 of the SS soldiers. The 5th, mortally wounded, makes a final act of retribution. The wounded German, lying in a pool of his own blood, sees the young Canadian raising his rifle. In that instant between life and death, he pulls the pin from a phosphorus grenade and throws it in his enemy's face. A hot, white fire explodes, drenching Léo in streams of liquid flame. The explosion horribly burns his face and almost completely destroys his left eye. In the field hospital, the doctor's verdict sounds like a sentence. "My friend, the war is over for you. You're going back to England." But Léo Major was made of different stuff. He looks at the doctor with his one good eye, in which a stubborn fire burns, and replies, "No way, sir. I'm a sniper. I only need one eye to aim, and my right eye is perfectly fine." He refuses evacuation. The astonished medic sends him back to his unit with an elegant eye patch. Léo would later joke, "I looked like a pirate." From that day on, he ceased to be just a soldier. He became the one-eyed ghost, a nightmare for the Germans, a fighter who turned his injury into a weapon. In the autumn of 1944, Allied forces were bogged down in the bloody Battle of the Scheldt in the southern Netherlands. One night, Léo sets out on a solo reconnaissance mission to find out the fate of a missing British patrol. A cold autumn rain lashes his face. Léo, with his trusty machine gun and a few grenades, glides along a narrow dike, peering into the damp darkness. Every step could be his last, but he is not afraid. He was never afraid. Soon he spots 2 German sentries. "I'm cold and wet because of you, and you're going to pay for it," he muttered to himself. He sneaks up, kills one, and captures the other. Using the prisoner as bait, he forces him to call out to his comrades. When an officer emerges from cover, Léo captures him as well. He forces the officer to order his garrison to surrender. When some soldiers hesitate, Major, without warning, shoots 3 of them. The rest, seeing this cold determination, throw down their weapons. That night, Léo Major, acting alone, returned to the Canadian lines leading 93 German prisoners. For this feat, he was recommended for the Distinguished Conduct Medal, DCM, the 2nd highest award for bravery in the British Commonwealth. But Léo refused to accept it. The reason? He despised the commander-in-chief, British Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, considering him incompetent and responsible for the failure of Operation Market Garden and the subsequent famine that claimed thousands of Dutch lives. This audacious act, a simple private challenging a field marshal, says more about his character than any feat. It was not pride, but unwavering honor. In February 1945, fate dealt Léo another blow. The truck he was riding in ran over an anti-tank mine. The explosion was monstrous. Everyone in the vehicle was killed instantly. Everyone except Léo. He was thrown from the truck like a rag doll. The diagnosis at the hospital was horrifying. A broken spine in 3 places, both ankles shattered, 4 ribs broken. The doctors were sure, if he survived, he would never walk again. This time, the war is definitely over for you, they told him. But they didn't know Léo Major. A week later, having barely regained consciousness, he escapes from the hospital. For a whole month, a simple Dutch family hides and nurses him back to health. In a small room with a low ceiling smelling of peat and fresh bread, Léo lies wrapped in bandages. Every breath is an agony. The lady of the house brings him milk. Her children stare with fear and curiosity at this fearsome one-eyed soldier. And he, overcoming the pain, smiles at them and whispers, "I'll be back. I have to go back." A month later, barely able to limp, he returns to his regiment. His comrades greet him like a ghost risen from the dead. His body was broken, but his will was unbreakable. This was the culmination of his insane military career, the night that forever etched his name in the history of one city. April 13th, 1945. Canadian forces stand at the gates of the Dutch city of Zwolle, with a population of about 50,000. A massive artillery barrage was planned for the next morning, which would inevitably lead to huge civilian casualties. The command requested 2 volunteers for a night reconnaissance mission to assess the German forces and, if possible, contact the Dutch resistance. Léo Major and his best friend, Corporal Willie Arsenal, volunteered. Around midnight, on the approach to the city, they run into a German patrol. A firefight breaks out. Willie Arsenal falls, cut down by a machine gun burst. Léo sees his best friend die in his arms. At that moment, something inside him breaks. The instinct for self-preservation shuts off. All that remains is an icy, all-consuming rage. He picks up his fallen friend's machine gun. Now he has 2 machine guns, a bag full of grenades, and one goal: revenge. Alone, against an entire city occupied by the enemy. When Léo stood up, leaving Willie's body on the cold ground, he was no longer a man. He was hate incarnate with a machine gun. It was as if a wild beast, driven mad by grief, had plunged into the very heart of darkness. Léo Major storms into Zwolle and begins his own personal blitzkrieg. His tactics were brilliant in their madness. He did not try to hide. He wanted to create chaos. He ran from one end of the street to the other, firing his machine gun to create the impression that an entire battalion had entered the city. He threw grenades in different directions, simulating an artillery barrage. The Germans, awakened by the roar and gunfire, were in complete disarray. About 10 times during the night, he single-handedly attacked groups of 8 to 10 German soldiers, disarmed them, led them out of the city, and handed them over to his comrades waiting on the outskirts. Then he would return to the city to continue his war. He captured a German officer who spoke French. Léo lied to him, saying that at 6 a.m. Canadian artillery would wipe the city off the face of the earth, and that Canadian troops were already everywhere. As a goodwill gesture, he returned the stunned officer's weapon and let him go, hoping he would spread panic among the garrison. He didn't just sow chaos, he carried out targeted strikes on the symbols of Nazi power. He found and set fire to the Gestapo headquarters. Then he burst into the building that housed the SS Officers Club, and in a short, furious firefight, killed 4 high-ranking SS officers. By 4:30 a.m., an exhausted Leo, blackened with soot, realized that silence had fallen over the city. The German garrison, convinced they were being stormed by superior enemy forces, had fled Zwolle in a panic. When Canadian troops entered the city at dawn, they met no resistance. They were greeted by cheering crowds of Dutch people with orange flags. A city of 50,000 had been liberated by one man, without a single shot fired by the Allies, without a single civilian casualty. For the liberation of Zwolle, Léo Major was again recommended for the Distinguished Conduct Medal. This time, he accepted it. The war in Europe was over. Léo returned to Montreal. He got a job as a pipe fitter and fell silent for 30 years. He married, raised children, and lived the most ordinary life. No one knew that this quiet, one-eyed man who went to work every day was a hero whose exploits surpassed imagination. In the 1960s, laying pipes under the bustling streets of Montreal, Léo did not think of glory. His colleagues saw him as just a good worker who never complained and never told tales of the past. To them, he was just Léo. Meanwhile, in a distant Dutch city, his name had already become a legend that parents told their children. The silence was broken only in the mid-1970s when an official representative of the city of Zwolle appeared at his door. "Mr. Major," he said, "we remember you. We have never forgotten. You are our hero." At that moment, as his relatives later recalled, the stoic veteran could not hold back his tears. From the day he was found, Léo became a regular visitor to Zwolle. Each of his returns turned into a national celebration. He was met by crowds of people. The streets were decorated with flags. A street was named in his honor, Léo Major Lawn. He became an honorary citizen of the city of Zwolle. In the Zwolle town hall, the very same one he helped occupy on that April night, the mayor places the chain of an honorary citizen around the neck of the 84-year-old Léo. The old warrior weeps. The hall erupts in applause. Outside the windows, thousands of Zwolle residents wave flags and weep with him. Léo Major died on October 12, 2008, at the age of 87. When the news of his death reached Zwolle, the flags over the city were flown at half-mast. A delegation from the Netherlands came to his funeral in Montreal to pay their respects to their liberator. He was buried at the last post-fund National Field of Honor in Pointe-Claire, Quebec. Over his grave, next to the Canadian flag, flies the flag of the Netherlands. The story of Léo Major is a story about the paradoxes of heroism and memory. Why did the nation for which he shed his blood virtually forget him, while the nation he saved made him immortal? Perhaps because Léo himself did not seek fame. His heroism was not for parades. It was an internal, instinctive sense of duty sharpened by personal tragedy. He was a man who believed that the world is divided into those who act and those who watch. He always chose action. One man can change the world. One man can liberate a city. One man can become a legend, if he wants it badly enough. Léo Major was such a man, and in Zwolle, he will never be forgotten.